On this episode of Hands on Cars, Kevin sprays urethane primer, preps the Camaro for paint, and takes a trip to Spring Carlisle.
Hey guys, Kevin Tetz. Thanks for watching Hands on Cars, and thanks for following along with our project vehicle. This is Project Z Sled, our 1978 Z28 Camaro, and boy, it's come a long way. We have graduated recently from the high-build polyester primer surfacer, which is essentially the last stage of your bodywork. It's blocked out nicely, 2 sessions of priming, and we've bathed everything in about 4 coats of the black 2K urethane primer surfacer. But even while I was spraying it, I saw some hints that maybe the bodywork wasn't perfect in a couple of places. So I decided to run a block over it one last time. Sure enough, I'm finding some waves. I'm finding places that, with a black paint job, or with any paint job for that matter, are going to show through your top coats. Like I've said 100 times, and I'll say it 100 more times, you have the opportunity through blocking, through siding, through guide coating to inspect your surface and make sure that by the time you get around to spraying that paint, you've done as much as you can to perfect that surface and that substrate. So I'm going to take this opportunity to block it out one more time, spray a little bit of primer, and then we'll have that reward when the paint comes. So while I'm doing a little rubbing on the Z Sled, we're going to show you what it took to get to this point. For a final primer surfacer, I always like to use a 2K primer, and we're using Eastwood's 4:1 urethane primer that's black. It's nice to have an option with the color because black, well, our top coat is going to be black. Neutral gray goes under just about any other color as a nice ground coat, and if we play our cards right and we prime this car properly, we stay with the black, we can bypass the process of doing a sealer, less solvent, less layers, better paint job. So, keep shaking it. Just like James Bond, we're going to stir it. Scrub your stick across the bottom. If you feel any gumminess or anything, oh, see that lump? That means there's talc or sediment, or it's separated. It's hanging out in the bottom. You got to stir it up. Paint shaker is a great idea, but always double check. There's a couple things that are going to make your life easier when it comes to mixing your primer surfacers, and that's these mixing cups. We found our 4:1 ratio right here. So we're going to just, depending on the amount we want, we're going to mix up to, oh, let's just say to the 4. And then to the next 4, which is 4:1, and we've got a dead accurate mix with the right proportions. It's going to make the world a little easier. Between this and the port lids, we're not making a mess, and we're very accurate. KT likes this. And that's it. 4 parts surfacer, 1 part activator. Stir, blend the components, then filter it into your gun, you're ready to spray. After a good wipe down with pre-painting prep, I like to blow the car and the parts off with a blower and a tack rag, and I set the air pressure to a little more pressure than I spray the primer. This makes sure that the dust is not launched into the air and that it's removed from the surface and not trapped underneath the layer of primer. I'm using my Concours Pro gun with a 1.7 fluid tip for the 2K primer surfacer. I'm using a 50% overlap and laying down a wet coat for all 3 of the coats I'm spraying. You can use this priming stage as a rehearsal of sorts for when you're painting your car. You can map out your strategy, figure out difficult to reach spots, and roughly gauge how much material you will be using per coat of whatever you're spraying just by keeping track. Obviously, in my booth, I've got great airflow, but even if you don't have a booth to spray in, make sure that you can evacuate the air and filter the exhaust to help you dry and cure the primer. Otherwise, you could trap solvents, and that's not good. You can tell that the black 2K primer is dry by the velvety look it takes on, and it gives you a pretty good idea of how straight the panels are too.
Hands on Cars is brought to you by the Eastwood Company. When you're restoring a car, truck, or motorcycle, Eastwood has everything you need to do the job right. Eastwood, since 1978.
Hey guys, Kevin Tetz for Hands on Cars. You know that we're knee-deep in Project Z Sled and we're racing towards having that silly sucker finished enough to drive. We're excited about it, but just like you, we got the disease, so we're constantly looking out for the next possible project. And what better place to start that than Spring Carlisle? Look at the car corral, look at the vendor tents. This is it, baby. And sure enough, look over here, 79 Z28. We are at home. Let's check this out. Let's get some cool stuff. It's nice to see Camaros, especially Z28s, but this right here is one of my favorite year Chevrolets. This is a Malibu, 1966, and it's good to know we're not the only people doing an LS swap into a vintage car. Check this out, Corvette motivation is going to carry this sucker down the road. Okay, whoever buys this Fett, find me. I will give you a big discount on the Paintucation Fiberglass Repair DVD. Just saying, because dang. If you know me at all, you know I did a show called Trucks for about 9 years, so obviously I'm a truck guy too. And this is a beautiful example. I actually had one of these in high school. It's a 57 F100. You can tell it's a 57 because it's a single headlight year for the next generation past the round fendered ones. This has a couple of things that my old rusty POS never had. Small block Chevy, and most importantly, air conditioning. I grew up in the Okanagan Valley in BC, and it was hot in the summertime, and I wish I had some of the curb appeal that this truck had. I don't know, it just brings me back. Very cool truck. Now this is one of the coolest things about coming to Carlisle. If you're looking for a project vehicle, you could come across some really interesting stuff. This is a rare bird. This is a real 1968 Z28, and it's had an enormous amount of work done to it. It's got new floors, new trunk floors, an NOS quarter on one side and a reproduction quarter on the other side. All the rust repair is kind of done on this thing. So you can take this, start off with a solid foundation, and get up and running pretty darn quick. But something's kind of wrong because I think that part's supposed to go in the back. Well, coming to any Carlisle event is always a big time, and this one has taught us a couple of things. In the first place, the hobby is alive and well. This place is packed, And in the second place, the swap meet, well, it's in good shape too. It's not all just online. So come on to a Carlisle event, check out the swap meet. There's all kinds of great deals on unbelievably rare stuff. And the car corral was fantastic. But as much fun as we've been having reliving my past in automotive history, I gotta go to work. I got a workshop to teach.
Spring Carlisle was a great event, and after an 8-year hiatus, the people loved to see Eastwood return, and they were really excited about Kevin's paint demo. But do you know what else is really exciting? On the next episode of Hands On Cars, Kevin's going to show you how to prep a car for paint, prep a booth for paint, and spray base and clear coat. You need to click the button to subscribe because this is an episode you don't want to miss if you're ever planning on painting your own car. But now, let's get back to the action, see what KT's up to.
I wanted to talk about the next stage of primers, which is Eastwood's 2K primer surfacer. It's a urethane primer. In our case, we're using black, well, because our top coat is going to be black, and it's the perfect ground coat. It's a little bit different philosophy. We're not so much shaping, but we are in a sense. So I like to use blocks and not finger sand. I have a combination of soft sanders and Dura-Blocks that help me get the job done, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, there's not a single piece of sheet metal on any car that is dead flat. So, different shapes on the sheet metal, different shapes on the sanding blocks. The soft sanders are perfect for that because they're flexible. There's a lot of different shapes. Even this one that looks flat, it's got a bit of a crown to it, so it's nice for these internal crevices. And my Dura-Blocks are here with a nice hard foot and a perfectly flat surface for the pieces, the 6 square inches on this hood that are actually flat. So, on here, you take our soft sander, and I can perfectly block this inner coat here. It's not me jamming a hard 90 down into that thing and hoping. It's actually utilizing the shape of the block itself, finding the happy place, and blocking as I need to. When you hit bottom, time to stop blocking. Now right here is where we've body worked the top of the hood into the top of the fender, so there's a little skim coat of filler there. And this is one of the things that I really like about this black primer surfacer to start with. It acts as its own guide coat, and you can see low spots here, particularly this little divot right there. Now that needs to be blocked until it disappears. That particularly, well, it might block out, but it might need a little bit of filler on top. I don't want to dig a hole since this is black and it's got to be perfectly flat. I sprayed this surfacer 2 days ago. So it's had time to dry, it's not pure. Here we go. All right, so right here, we're down to filler, and I've still got a divot there. That's gonna stay like it is. I'm gonna do a little micro wipe of glazing putty and get that up to speed, and I'll reprime that, and it'll be good. For the areas that truly seem flat, I'm gonna use my big flat Dura-Block. Travel with my X pattern. You never want to assume that anything's perfect on your car. This is a brand new hood. It's a beautiful stamped piece from National Parts Depot, but stuff can happen during shipping. It's shipped in a giant cardboard box, and you know, it can break your heart when you see that stuff through the paint job. So if it's worth it to you, it's worth it to go the extra mile, spend a little bit more money on primer surfacer, and make sure that your panels are flat before you put your top coats on. So obviously it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get a car straight and flat, but it's worth it. And you guys can do it with the help of Eastwood and Paintucation. The one thing that struck me was when I primed this thing out in the black, it looks so sinister in this black primer, I almost wanted to leave it. As a matter of fact, a buddy of mine, Chris German, has a second gen F body, and he's got his in flat black with red accents, and boy, it looks mean. So we're gonna meet up with Chris on some autocross courses, and we'll see what happens. But I wanted to show you also the pre-painting prep in the pump sprayer. Again, it's another tool to look and see. Now you can see what kind of a powerful tool wet checking your panels is. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about was the fender vents here. Now this is something that is actually lighting up Facebook. Guys love this stuff, and I can't even take credit for it because it's still GM stuff. These aren't custom vents. This is not a custom opening. This is what the factory provided us. Here's the difference. These gills used to be put on from the outside. All we did was flip them around and put them in from the inside. Big thanks to Kiwi, Chris Lee from Kiwi Classics and Customs, for figuring out the tabs and the mechanism for holding it in from the backside, but it's really, really simple. And we didn't have to fabricate anything. And look at the cool look that we've got. This is gonna be outstanding, and at least for a little while until you guys start doing it, it's gonna be unique. So Zed-Sled has come a long way. Thanks for following us along. And the next time you see this car, it's gonna be bathed in black, black, black. Triple black, stupid shiny, and we're going to show you that just with some time investment, the bodywork is worth it. Before we go, there's one more thing I want to show you. Now, as much as I like the vintage N90 wheels, I am crazy about these wheels. These are not new, these were used. We got them off of an internet auction and did some tricks with some Eastwood coatings, and check it out. Stupid wide rubber, really neat looking wheels, black, brings it up current, and we didn't pay an arm and a leg for these wheels. So if you're wondering what I used, it's not powder coat. It's the metal blackening system from Eastwood. Sorry to ShamWow you, but I'm excited about this coating. This really works well. It's really good for almost any substrate with very minimal prep. Looks great, and it's easy to apply and very affordable. So, what do we got? We got new skins for Zed-Sled. Thanks for watching. I'm Kevin Tetz. You're watching Hands on Cars. We got some cool stuff coming up for you. In the meantime, do it with your own hands. Do the job right with the help of Eastwood.
On the next episode of Hands on Cars, Kevin paints the Camaro and gives you tips on how to do the job right.